So, a very good morning to all of you. I hope everybody can see and hear me clearly. And by now, everybody would be very clear about what we do in these sessions. But let me just repeat it for the sake of people who might have joined just now or who might have joined today only. Right. So, what we have been doing so far in this session is to take up editorial articles and discuss it. Right. But in the last 10-15 days, I thought since the exam is drawing closer, since the exam is coming closer, we need to upgrade our skills. We need to go a notch higher. So we have started taking questions from different sources, mostly IFT, ZAT, and GAT. Right. In short, the various MB entrance exams, right, and we have taken the questions from them and we discussed them. So the idea here is by practical means we develop the necessary skills, the necessary requirements to be able to solve these questions. So that is what we are going to take up today also. So very good morning to all of you. I hope everybody can see and hear me clearly. All clear, I think. Right. Okay. So before we begin or go ahead with anything else, something which I always tell about, you know, about the schedule is the YouTube schedule for the day, right? Okay, and you can read. And one of you, Frankie, saying, can we discuss at least two passages in a day? Frankie, the only problem is it will be long, right? It will be like the session will have to be lengthened, right? I have not more than 45 minutes, right? So short passages agar hoga to we will try to. For example, I have two short passages today, right, were both taken from Zach and one question on paragimbles. So depends, right? Okay, and one of you is saying, okay, Mohsin, can you discuss some odd one out? We कर सकते हैं, right? So we will keep on changing, right, in between, right? And Ritik is saying, improve my verbal ability, all thanks to you. So Ritik, I would say that if there's any improvement in your score, 90% of the contribution is from your side only. It's because you have worked on it, right? So we only help you, of course. 10% I would say is our responsibility, but 90% of the result is because of your own efforts only, right? Okay, so this is the question that I would like everybody to start off with, and as you can see, this is a logical sequence question. Logical sequence question in the sense that you have to find out what exactly is the answer, and it is taken, I mean, exactly the sequences. So you'll have to form a logical sequence, a logical paragraph. It is from IFT 2008, and here I have removed the answer options. IFT में ज़्यादातर answer options होते हैं, right? But here I have removed it because in CAT parajumbles are asked without options. So उसके लिए prepare करना है. In any case, if I can solve parajumbles without answer option, right, it becomes very easy to solve ones with options. Options के बगैर if you're used to it, now that will be the best thing, right? So take some time, and after 1 minute I will show you the answer. Take a minute or so, and after a minute I will show you the answer. I hope everybody is reading it, right? And as I always tell everybody here, do not think of beginning ending क्या होगा. वो जरूरी नहीं है कि beginning ending दिख जाए. What we need to first find is a link, right? So sentences के बीच में link ढूंढो, right? And once you find the link, once you are very sure about the link, you can actually think of अच्छा इसका आंसर ये लिंक है तो रिमेनिंग दो सेंटेंसेस कहाँ फिट होगा. सो दैट इज व्हाट वी शुड बी दी अप्रोच. ठीक है, सो टेक सम टाइम, लेट्स सी. Everybody is ready, I hope. I'm waiting for your responses. Okay, so Vaishnavi is saying 3124 answers. थोड़े देर रुक जाओ, I'm not confirming. I'll confirm the answer in the next slide. I'll show you the answer and I'll discuss it also. So you must have noticed one thing here, that in such questions, even if you get one, even if you get one sentence here and there, right? मान लो स्टार्टिंग सही है, एंडिंग सही है, बीच का दो अगर थोड़ा सा भी इधर उधर हो गया, so it will be definitely wrong. So be very careful. People are coming up with answers. Let's see. Okay, let's see. So different people, different answers. Let me tell you what is the answer. You can see the answer at the bottom of the page. The answer is 3241. 3241. I don't know how many people got it right. 3241. Okay. 3241. Should it be 14 or 41? That is where we need to discuss. Dekho. First of all, data shows an almost uniformly abysmal economic performance. Abysmal matlab bad performance, right? So how is it bad? It will be explained further into on an output basis. So the basis which is preferred by the government because it is less volatile, meaning the government's preferred measure because of its less volatile thin expenditure based GDP. Even going by the government's favorite standard, the economy contracted by. So 3 and 1 is a very clear link. Now you are left with 4 and 3 and 1, sorry, 3 and 3 and 2 is a very clear link. Sorry, 3 and 2, not 1. So 3 and 2 is a very clear link, right? So data shows that it is abysmal, the economy contracted. So this is basically a connection. What you are left with now is 4 and 1. So where will you place 4 and 1? Now, if you notice, in 2, you have already spoken about contracted by 0.3 in real terms of from the previous quarter. Right. Now, if you notice here, now, if you look at 4, this was the first contraction. The key here is first contraction. Now, if I write in 3, there's also, in sentence 2, there's also a contraction, right? And in 1, you will also have another contraction mentioned, right? Now, if I write 4 later on, it cannot be the first contraction, which basically means 4 will have to come here because the first contraction is mentioned here, right? Then in 1, you are speaking about if the performance was even poorer, it is something which happened later on, right? So that is what we have to be very careful about. Okay, so the best answer is 3241. Everybody understood, right? Siddharth, correct. First contraction. Dekho, if I write, many of you have written 4, many of you have in fact written 1 before 4, right? That cannot be because in 4 you have this was the first contraction, and the first contraction is mentioned in 2. Okay, everybody got the point, I hope. So the best answer is 3241. Right, and there are links here. What was the first contraction, right? And abysmal economic performance is explained in sentence 2, right? So the best answer is 3241. Everybody got the point, I hope. All understood, right? Okay, so let's move on to the next question. As I told you, today we will do two small passages. This is one passage, and this is just one slide, right? And this is a question taken from ZAP 2010, as many of you can see. And the source of this article, in fact, it is basically an article called issues.org. It's a very commonly read article. And if you notice here, ZAP, I'm just giving you examples of sources which you can read. Okay, right? And this is just a small part of the passage. Read it, everybody, and then we will discuss it. Right. Frankly, this is just one slide. Right. Actual article was very long, but in ZAP 2010, this was just one paragraph. Slightly longish paragraph. This is the only paragraph which they have asked. Right. इसके बाद सीधा questions है. What are the questions? I will show you. Right. Which of the following will weaken the argument described in the passage? And second question is which of the following are logically consistent with the content of the paragraph? Right. So two questions asked. and both the questions are of the nature of critical reasoning. And critical reasoning questions कैट में आता है. ओके, अभी लास्ट वी वर लेफ्ट विद यस्टरडेज क्वेश्चंस. हाँ, यस्टरडेज क्वेश्चन जो लास्ट पैसेज था वो भी है मेरे पास. दैट विल बी द सेकंड पैसेज, डोंट वरी. राइट, देयर वाज वन पैसेज which we could not complete. वो भी है, that we will do in the second part, don't worry. Right, now before that, one of you is asking me the meaning of ecstatic. What is the meaning of ecstatic? Ecstatic basically means to be in a very happy state. Ecstasy is extreme happiness. So ecstatic happiness मतलब extreme happiness. Right, and if you've noticed, the questions are mostly of the type of critical reasoning. कैट में critical reasoning आते हैं. It is not asked अलग से. They do not ask you separately, but it is asked within the passages. So that is what we require here. Now, and if you notice, Zach is a very close competitor of CAT when it comes to difficulty level. कई बार Zach के questions, especially RCs and reasoning, CAT से भी difficult होता है. So if you are able to solve this, you should be able to, CAT should be effective, right? So that's what that is the reason why I'm discussing this. ठीक है? Okay, Gaurang is saying long sentence में relate कर पाना problem हो रहा है. That is basically because of two things. Number one could be because of psychological pressure. दूसरा, it could be because of lack of practice in reading. Break up the sentence into parts. Right, that is very simple. So, what is the author saying here? Speaking about a person called Silver. Silver is specially and repetitively savage. What is savage? He is brutal. Right. So he is brutal in his criticism of what? The claims made for particle physics. So he is criticizing particle physics. How is he criticizing? He is saying that once proton, neutron, and electron were found and their properties experiments. So, matlab, basic things like proton, neutron, electron, if they were found, why do you have to go for expensive searches such as the Higgs boson? Right. So this sentence is telling you Silver is criticizing research, unnecessary research in physics, unnecessary according to him. You have found the basic proton, neutron, and electron. Why do you have to search for expensive things like, why do you have to search for things like Higgs boson? And the search is very expensive. And what does he mean by exotic? Exotic means things which are alien to us, which are foreign, which are normally exotic. मतलब foreign जो normally हम used to है उससे different. ठीक है. Extravagant, देखो, what does the word extravagant mean? Extravagant can mean two things. Number one, extravagant means wasteful about resources, right? दूसरा, if it is an extravagant claim, it means a claim that is far-fetched, right? So यहाँ पे he is saying far-fetched claims. ठीक है. पार्टिकल फिजिक्स में इतना रिसर्च करने की कोई जरूरत नहीं. दैट इज व्हाट आई सी, राइट? Because you have already discovered proton, neutron, electron. These researches are expensive, right? And they are harder to justify than by their importance to particle physics. मतलब इनका importance particle physics में है, इसके अलावा और कोई justification नहीं है. Why should we do this? ठीक है. Then next part he uses language, uses rhetoric. Most of these particles, मतलब Higgs boson, जिसके लिए सर्च करते हैं, which the author does not want to, they resemble ecstatic happiness. They resemble extreme happiness. So they are short-lived and have nothing to do with everyday life. This is interesting, right? These Higgs bosons, right? They are short-lived and they have nothing to do with everyday life, right? And he goes to the level of sarcasm, right? What is the sarcasm here? It will be a magnificent theoretical triumph. That means practical application कुछ नहीं होगा. Like a great Bobby Fischer game. Bobby Fischer was a chess player, so it's like watching a great chess game. Practical life में क्या फायदा? So that is what is the case. ठीक है. Tad means a small bit. ठीक है. So now, so the author feels that Silver is a little bit unfair, but Silver's criticism is clear. Everybody is clear with Silver's criticism, I hope. Shall we look at the question? Everybody understood? So what was the main gist? Silver is saying particle physics में when you conduct research for things like Higgs boson, it is of practically no use in real life. right? It is expensive also. It is helpful only in particle physics, and it is you have discovered the basics, so there is no need to search, go further, expending money and resources into this research. Okay, all clear? Shall we look at the first question? I hope all clear. Right. First question is this: which of the following, if true, will weaken the argument described in the passage? So, what is the argument described in the passage? Right. It will have to, you will have to weaken. Weaken basically means what? Weaken is nothing else but to prove it wrong, right? Or to go against it, provided you use the logic. Okay. Frankie saying the passage is difficult. Difficult इसलिए है because, is it difficult? Not very much, right? Because language थोड़ा सा rhetoric है, and probably to some extent it's made of long sentences. So when the passage is made of long sentences, थोड़ा सा गड़बड़ होता है, right? So, but I think I have made it clear. Silver क्या कह रहा था? Particle physics में researching for things like Higgs boson particles is of practically no use. It is of use only to physics, and it is expensive. So why do we have to do it? He is criticizing it. Okay, you have to prove it wrong. Shubhraj is the first to answer. What about others? Himanshu is saying, okay. Okay. Shubhraj and Siddharth C, Himanshu and Vaishnavi A. Achha. Okay. 4 people have answered at least. Siddharth, Gopal A, Nepo A. Many new people I can see today. Right. Okay. New names. Good. Frankie saying D, Shivani A. Okay. So far I can only tell you that very few people have got the answers correct. Okay. All streams of new science. First of all, particle physics, is it new science? The author was criticizing. Okay, the best answer is C. Best answer is C. I think only 2 people marked it correctly. I think it was Shubhraj and another person, I forgot the name, Shubhraj and somebody else. Right. Best answer is C. What was the argument made by Silver? Right. Silver was saying that unnecessary research mat karo kisme, in particle physics. Right. It is of use, practical कोई use नहीं, सिर्फ theoretical use है, and that too in practical, in particle physics. ठीक है. So now A eliminate करो. All streams of new science. New science, क्या particle physics new science है? We do not know, right? So you have to be relevant to the topic. This is not relevant because it speaks about something else. And second, go through a period of uncertainty. The author is not at all worried about uncertainty. He is worried about अगर कुछ डिस्कवर हो भी गया तो उसका कोई फायदा नहीं है, एंड एक्सपेंडिचर ज्यादा है. ठीक है. बी, नेसेसिटी इज द मदर ऑफ एवरी इन्वेंशन. Necessity is not a point that he raises at all. What is the best answer? C. Best answer क्यों है? Because knowledge has preceded application in all spheres of science. देखो, author was questioning application कुछ है नहीं तो क्यों करना है. C provides a reason. Application अगर नहीं भी है तो we still need to research because knowledge is more important than application. That means this is proving the author wrong. What about the author's he main reason? Practical application कुछ नहीं है, खर्चा ज्यादा है, क्यों करना है. C says application से ज्यादा जरूरी knowledge है. That means C is weakening the author's argument. Everybody got the point? Right. Now, the funding agency supporting research do not mind wasting their money. देखो, whether they may mind wasting their money or not, the author's argument was करना नहीं चाहिए. ठीक है. लेकिन दे डू नॉट माइंड डूइंग इट, उससे गलत साबित नहीं हो रहा. सपोज अगर मैं कहता हूं सिगरेट मत पियो, सिगरेट पीना हार्मफुल है, लंग्स खराब हो जाएगा. कैन यू प्रूव मी रॉन्ग बाय सेइंग मुझे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता? नहीं ना, यू आर नॉट प्रूविंग इट रॉन्ग, यू आर सिंपली रिफ्यूजिंग टू एक्सेप्ट द आर्ग्यूमेंट. ठीक है. सो द आंसर कैन नॉट बी डी. ठीक है. एंड ई इज ऑल्सो टू ब्रॉड टू बी आंसर्ड. राइट. Aman, IIT weaken Aman, the answer weakens IIT and Aman. Okay, Aman is your name. Okay, Aman, I know 2-3. I've seen you making comments 3-4 times. Okay, Aman एक चीज देखो, C weaken करता है क्यों? Because देखो पार्टिकल फिजिक्स में इतना रिसर्च नहीं करना चाहिए. क्यों? बिकॉज ऑफ 2 रीजन. नंबर 1, कोई प्रैक्टिकल यूज नहीं है, एंड दूसरा खर्चा ज्यादा है. राइट. सी इज टेलिंग यू एप्लीकेशन से ज्यादा जरूरी नॉलेज है. दैट मीन्स एप्लीकेशन जीरो भी हो, अगर नॉलेज के लिए हेल्पफुल है तो वी शुड डू रिसर्च. सो दिस इज लाइक एक द रीजन विच द ऑथर वाज सेइंग एप्लीकेशन कुछ है नहीं, खर्चा ज्यादा है, एप्लीकेशन तो हमें चाहिए ही नहीं, दैट मीन्स यू हैव टू रिसर्च. ठीक है, गेटिंग द पॉइंट? Understood? So this was the first question. Okay, chalo let's see. Next question is this. Identify the statements that is or are logically consistent with the content of the paragraph. Right. What was the content of the paragraph? You notice, right? This is something which you can do by elimination also. But this will be tricky because एक option है जो बहुत trouble करेगा. You can eliminate, one option, but एक option है जो बहुत trouble करेगा. Right, quickly answer. Right, this will take you probably. Okay, Aman is saying 2 and 4. Okay, Aman is saying 2 and 4. Vaishnavi E C. अच्छा, एक बार बताओ. Be very careful. Sentence 2 में अच्छा एक मिनट देखो. Everyday life has nothing to do with the experimental confirmation of the properties of. ये नहीं, let me eliminate. ये इसके बारे में नहीं. He is speaking about Higgs boson. Right. This is why detail बहुत जरूरी है. If you look at it, देखो, the author says the sliver का argument क्या था? Proton, neutron, electron discovered हो गया, right? And expensive searches for exotic particles such as Higgs bosons were hard, right? Most of the particles resemble ecstatic, right? So other than by their importance to particle physics, right? They have nothing to do with everyday life. When he says they, does he mean Higgs boson or does he mean proton, electron, and neutron? Tell me, when he says this they, he is referring to the Higgs boson, right? So I will do one thing, I will eliminate 2 because it has nothing to do with proton, neutron, electron, Higgs boson. So eliminate 2. ठीक है, I hope you understood. This is a trick question as I was telling you. देखो, सिल्वर इज एन आर्डेंट क्रिटिक ऑफ हिग्स बोसन थियरी. क्रिटिक तो है, तभी तो वो कह रहा है कि इस थियरी में रिसर्च करो ही मत. ठीक है, राइट. ओके, नाउ okay, you mean, okay, he is criticizing it. Okay, now chalo 1 still hazy ho sakta hai, but 2 is clearly eliminated. Right, now one more thing is also clear, that is 4 is clearly correct. Research is an expensive proposition, he mentions it clearly. So 4 is definitely there, 2 is not there. So 2 nahi hai, right? So that means you will have to choose between. 4 is definitely there, so the answer will have to be something between D or E. 4 और E दोनों में से चूज करना पड़ेगा. राइट, नाउ इफ यू नोटिस व्हाट इज द प्रॉब्लम विद 3 आइडेंटिफाइंग मोर. 3 तो कहीं भी, इफ यू नोटिस 3 किसी भी ऑप्शन में है भी नहीं. ठीक है, 3 is not mentioned in even any of the options. Now best answer here is an ardent critic of Higgs boson theory. तभी तो कह रहा है कि इसमें रिसर्च करने की क्या जरूरत है. इट इज ऑफ यूज ओनली टू particle physics, no practical application. So that means he is against it, right? So the best answer is 1 and 4. So what is the best answer? That is 1 and 4, E. ठीक है, Subhraj, he is a critic of, okay, he is a critic of both, right? Why does he criticize? देखो, हिग्स बोसन नहीं करना चाहिए रिसर्च. हिग्स बोसन, देखो, he says Higgs boson theory is of use only to particle physics. Practical application में, कोई real life में practical application नहीं है. There is also one part, right? And worthless spending, he is also against it. So he is against worthless spending. He is also against against this Higgs boson theory. समझ में आ रहा है शुभराज? आई होप. ओके, नाउ महिमा, इस फोर्थ सेंटेंस नॉट जनरलाइज नहीं, जनरलाइज नहीं है, वो डायरेक्टली कहता है. आई विल टेल यू. देखो इधर देखो, ही मेंशन्स इट डायरेक्टली हियर, राइट? very expensive searches for more particles such as Higgs boson, right? So for expensive searches for particles which are exotic like Higgs boson, right? So particle research is an exotic particles like Higgs boson in particular physics is expensive. So he mentions it directly there. परमर देखो मोशन परमर ओके ही इज क्रिटिसाइजिंग कॉस्ट को भी यूज कर रहा है उसके साथ साथ डज इट नॉट से एक चीज एक जगह देखो आई विल शो यू दैट पार्ट यू विल बी प्रोबेबली क्लियर अबाउट दिस ही आल्सो सेज दे आर वेरी शॉर्ट लिव एंड हैव नथिंग टू डू विद एवरीडे लाइफ ये दे क्या है particles such as the Higgs boson, right? Exotic particles like this, they are short-lived and have nothing to do with everyday life. मतलब real life में application नहीं है. So this is also a part of his criticism. ठीक है? So बेकार में खर्चा वो भी है, right? बेकार में खर्चा बेकार क्यों है? Because real life में application है ही नहीं. अगर रियल लाइफ में एप्लीकेशन होता तो खर्चा करने को शायद तैयार भी होता ठीक है एवरीबडी गॉट इट आई होप ठीक है सो दिस वाज अ पैसेज फ्रॉम जैट 2010 ठीक है ऑल क्लियर आई होप एवरीबडी इज क्लियर ओके ठीक है सो शैल वी ट्राई अनदर पैसेज चलो एक और पैसेज करते हैं दिस इज द पैसेज व्हिच वाज लेफ्ट फ्रॉम yesterday ZAT 2021 राइट एंड इसमें सिर्फ दो ही पैसेजेस है right there are just two passages there right? and there are two questions पहले question देखो first question right if you notice what does the author best mean when he says we must discuss each question within the uncertainties that are allowed right ठीक है right okay let's see and this is the next question which of the following best describes the essence of the passage ठीक है now let's read the passage and this is also going to be if you notice ZAT के passages जो है they are not easy they are a little bit challenging but important thing is let's understand it and go right so and you know very clearly that okay बीच में just to interrupt and ask you many people are concerned about time right कि time नहीं है मेरे पास right time is of concern I agree but then you should know that in CAT and ZAT it is not much about time it is more about difficulty level because एक पैसेज अटेम्प्ट करने के लिए you will have 7-8 minutes right ZAT में कम होगा 7-8 minutes जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी because ZAT में passages are shorter ठीक है but ZAT में you should notice there are you have 165 minutes and 3 sections and in CAT you have 2 hours for 3 sections so ZAT में ज्यादा टाइम भी है और क्वेश्चंस का नंबर ZAT में कम भी होता है ठीक है लेट्स सी हाँ महिमा जैट पैसेजेस आर जनरली शॉर्ट जो अभी मैंने कराया उसी इस लेवल के होते हैं राइट कई बार आई मीन समटाइम्स लॉन्गर वंस आर आल्सो आस्क्ड राइट बट जैट सीम्स टू प्रेफर शॉर्ट पैसेजेस दे आस्क यू 3-4 पैसेजेस शॉर्ट वंस राइट बट चैलेंजिंग वंस बट दे आर ट्रिकी यस करेक्ट अमन uncertainties मतलब things which you are not sure about ठीक है so here okay there is a question that is asked on this we must discuss each question within the uncertainties that are allowed right so when a statement is made the question is not whether it is true or false but rather how likely it is to be true or false so he is saying nothing is certain right so when you make a statement you cannot be 100% true you cannot be sure about if it is 100% true or false you can only be about how close is it to true or how close is it to being false everybody has read it I hope all read it I hope shall we change the slide right and you know very clearly ये पैसेज के बीच में से लिया गया. That has nothing to do with the question of uncertainty and doubt. Forget this, right? He is making a generalized statement that whenever we claim something, we cannot claim to be 100% true or 100% false. You can only say we are close to truth or close to being false. ठीक है? He is making a generalized statement. And read the next line, very important. And as evidence grows, it increases the probability perhaps that some idea is right or decreases it. Now if you notice, I hope you are clear, when you make a claim, right, the claim cannot be 100% right or 100% wrong. You can be only closer to truth or closer to being false. Even when you provide evidence, the evidence will never prove it 100% right or 100% wrong. It will only increase its probability of being true or decrease the probability of being true. Right. All clear, I hope. And this is a fairly, straightforward kind of a passage, provided you understand the idea. But it never makes absolutely certain one way or the other. And look at this line. Now we have found that this is of paramount importance in order to progress. Paramount matlab of the paramount means सबसे ज़्यादा, right? Or paramount importance means of great importance, the most important thing. So what is important in order to progress? The realization that when you claim something, nothing is 100% wrong or 100% true. You can only prove it to be close to true, or you can only prove it to be close to false. Even when you supply evidence, you can only decrease or increase the probability. You can never confirm it to be 100%. Okay? And this is of importance to progress. So we must absolutely leave room for doubt, or there is no progress and there's no learning. There's no learning without having to pose a question. So in short, we should be always looking for questions, right? And questions require doubt. People search for certainty, but there's no certainty. People are terrified. How can you live and not know? It is not that. So he's telling you what people believe here, but he's saying that this is not the real thing. ठीक है. So 100% confirmation, 100% knowledge according to the author is not possible. There will be some uncertainty always, and you should live with it. If you do not take it up, then you are not going to progress. ठीक है. Everybody has read it, I hope. Right. Let's see the question. What does the author best mean when he says we must discuss each question within the uncertainties that are allowed? Right. Do you want me to show you the passage? He tells it. He mentions this in the first passage, right? We must discuss each question within the uncertainties that are allowed. Iska explanation is there in the previous part, right? I think ये सबने वही पढ़ा है. I'm not going to focus too much. एक बार देख लो, right? You will understand, right? So we must discuss each question within the uncertainties that are allowed. Best answer. Choose the best answer. Eliminate करके चलो. Okay, best answer. Okay. Let's see. Majority abhi tak 3 people with C and some with B and D also. Let's see. What does the author mean when he says that? Let me eliminate, right? First, okay. The best answer to this question is C. Best answer is C. We must be prepared to accept errors in the answers we seek. Right. देखो, what we must discuss each question within the uncertainties that are allowed. This is a follow of the line. इससे पहले क्या कह रहा था? That whenever we try to find answers to questions, whenever we look at making statements, we should be prepared to accept that 100% ट्रू 100% फॉल्स नहीं होता, राइट. देयर विल बी ऑलवेज सम एरिया ऑफ अनसर्टेनिटी एंड वी शुड एक्सेप्ट इट. ठीक है, राइट. नाउ अनसर्टेनिटी शुड बी ऑलवेज देयर. नाउ इलिमिनेट करके चलो. द अनसर्टेनिटीज आर लिमिटेड. Are the uncertainties limited? We do not know. Uncertainty should be there, but is the uncertainty limited by the nature of the questions or uncertainty में कोई relation नहीं. We should be prepared to find uncertainties even in the answers. But are the uncertainties limited? No. What about B? The uncertainty should be relevant to the question. देखो, he is only saying that we should be prepared to see uncertainties. 100% certainty is not possible. If this is the case, uncertainty should be relevant or not is something which we do not know at all. Uncertainty होना चाहिए, relevant हो नहीं हमें क्या पता, right? Uncertainty होना चाहिए definitely. ठीक है. Look at C. C says we must be prepared to accept errors in the answers we seek. देखो, whenever we try to answer a question or try to find the truth, it cannot be 100% true. That means there is some error, right? And we should be prepared to, accept with the error. That is what is the overall idea of the passage. ठीक है. Uncertainty मतलब 100% confirmed नहीं है, so we should be prepared to follow it. ठीक है. So best answer is C. Understood? I hope. Is it clear? Right. What was the author saying? He was telling us that when we seek answers, when we make statements, there will be always a room for uncertainty. So we should be prepared for this is Mahima. We should be prepared to accept errors. Where does he know? He says it throughout. Na? He says it. Dekho, never make absolute certain one way or the other. Dekho, accept. If you are not prepared to accept, what does it mean? Dekho, we all know that our statements are approximate statements with different degrees of certainty. The question is not, but rather how likely it is to be true or false. So we'll have to accept this. We must discuss each question. That means when you discuss a question, there will be always some uncertainty. So you should be prepared to accept the answers in the errors. ठीक है? Clear है? Right. Eliminate करके चलो. Even in D, there's a finite set of uncertainties. Uncertainty finite है, कितना होगा पता नहीं, right? कितना uncertain होगा पता नहीं, ठीक है? But every question there will be uncertainties. But the problem with D is finite, ठीक है? Right? The question decides the amount of certainties. Again, the amount of certainty is something which we do not know. There will be uncertainties, ठीक है? Everybody got the point? I hope. ठीक है? Right. Shall we look at the next question? So what was he telling you? He was telling you that this is like the overall idea. Whenever we try to find answers, हमारे answers में there will be some uncertainty. तो uncertainty error ही तो है. So we should be prepared. Right? इसके लिए हम, if we are not prepared, that means we are not agreeing with the idea. ठीक है? Right? So this is tricky. Yes, Aman is confirming ये tricky है. Right? So we'll have to be careful. ठीक है, let's try the next question. Which of the following best describes the essence of the passage? Essence of the passage, अगर आंसर कर पाओगे, I mean if you have understood the previous question, essence और ये लगभग एक ही चीज है. Essence एक ही है. What was he saying? Let me describe it again. Get the answer correct. He was telling us that, okay, और second part में देखो, he tells you that हर चीज में we should be prepared to see uncertainty. If you are not prepared to see this, you cannot progress. ठीक है. Skepticism. What is skepticism? Skepticism is when you are not 100%, when you have questions. When you have questions. Funny and Jaiswal and Pinky Jaiswal, answer C. C कुछ और डायरेक्शन में जा रहा है. Progress involves questioning accepted truths या progress involves accepting the fact that whatever answers you find उसमें uncertainty या doubt होगा. Many people are saying answer is C. C कहीं और डायरेक्शन में जा रहा है. Progress किस हिसाब से होगा? पैसेज के हिसाब से. प्रोग्रेस कैसे होगा? देखो एक मिनट, प्रोग्रेस किससे होगा? Never make absolute certain. Now we have found that this is the paramount importance in order to progress. What is progress के लिए क्या चाहिए? Not this. So eliminate C. Except questioning accepted truth. पैसेज के हिसाब से बिल्कुल नहीं है. So C is किसी और डायरेक्शन में चला गया. ठीक है. Answer is it A? Okay. So far I can tell you some people have definitely marked the answer. Best answer here is B. Best answer is B. अच्छा, एक बार बताओ. Reasonable skepticism. Okay. First of all, skepticism and what is given in the passage is different. Skepticism क्या है? Skepticism is किसी चीज में हमेशा मेरे दिमाग में डाउट रहना. That is skepticism. The passage is not about doubt in your mind. The passage is answer definite नहीं मिलेगा. Right. 100% confirmed answer नहीं मिलेगा. Doubt रहेगा आंसर में, मेरे दिमाग में नहीं. ठीक है. So this is something which is different from what the passage is. And second, एक बार बताओ, here are we speaking about science only? Is it limited to only science or is it limited to generalize everything? It's about truth. He mentions science, but is the author concerned about science or is it more concerned about, generalize a way of life? Right. So अगर ऐसा है तो साइंस के बारे में ही नहीं है. Right. So I can eliminate E because of this. I can also eliminate D because of this. Right. And if you notice, reasonable discomfort with, certainty is the path for progress. मतलब discomfort with certainty, मतलब there will be uncertainty. So that means you should be accepting uncertainty. That means you should be uncomfortable with certainty. So you should not always look for 100% certainty. So it should be a reasonable way. So the best answer is B. Everybody understood this? This is very tricky. Right. As I was telling you, if you are able to answer questions like this, right, CAT के passages will be, if not easy, attemptable. Right. So this is what we will do every day in the classes. Right. As the exam draws closer, we will examine difficult passages, tricky passages, and we will try to discuss it. Everybody is clear with this, I hope. So with that, we come to the end of the passage, end of the discussion. I hope everybody understood, right? This skill is very important, right? You will have to develop the skill of elimination. Remember, I have been telling you, always try to recall the gist of the passage. And when it comes to answering the questions, you should be able to eliminate the wrong options, right? So that is what we can always do this. Okay, right? So every day, day in and day out, we will keep on practicing these things, right? And it will your ability, your skill will definitely improve. Okay. So before we end, some information. All of you know about this already, but you can use this, right? When you buy any online classroom program, right, you can avail of a flat 25% discount if you use this code deal25, right? And crash course, there is a course. If you still are thinking of preparing for CAT 2021, there's a crash course. And those of you who would like to give it a longer shot, there is this course. This is targeting CAT 2022, not this year, next year. So you have ample time on your hands. And do not, leave out, do not miss this mock, right? And all of you know about the teachers who take your classes already. So we come to the end of the session. I will meet you again tomorrow at the same time. Till then, have a nice day and we will continue our endeavor to improve your RC skill.